All right, guys, so this is going to be the video on explaining how to draw your outline of your animal, so that way when you get ready for the pop art and we start with the painting process, you have a better guide as far as the way that this is going to be lined up. Okay, I am going to be going based off of my picture here, which is of our dog Lily, and I'm going to show you how I approach specific things and looking at how to make sure that it comes out looking like her at the end. Those of you guys that already submitted your photographs, well, then you're going by your photographs. Those of you guys that don't have a pet, remember, every single one is going to be different. So I shouldn't have anybody submit the one that I am doing, because you need to do it to your own animal. So the whole concept is to learn how to apply it to your own photograph. So if you don't have an animal, those are the students that need to reach out to me on Remind, so that way we can make arrangements and see what is it that you can do in order to be able to do the project to get the grade, okay? So at this point, what you want to do is you want to look at your animal. Remember, we're all doing something different. So take a look at your animal, and you want to determine if they're looking like straight forward. You kind of want to look at it and take a look at it and see, where can I divide the face by? Remember, we always do shape. So if I'm looking at Lily, I have a shape for the top of the head right here, because if you notice where this part of the jawline, it goes this way, it curves in and then it comes up. So she's got almost like this large shape as an 8 right here. So if I wanted to start off with those shapes, I could get away with kind of figuring out, this is the top part of my head. And then on the bottom 8, it's a little bit chunky. This is a separate shape. I'm not looking at this yet. I'm looking at this part. So I want to get another that intersects. And it kind of comes off the page if I notice that. So this should actually go off the page over here, off of here, okay? So I was drawing this a little bit too short, because I should have that shape go off. And then if I look at where the 8s intersect, and what I'm talking about is this part of the head. So it's 1 shape, 2 shape. Some of you guys might have that on your dogs, because the majority did dogs. I know Joanna sent a picture of a cat, but the majority of you guys have dogs. You're going to look at, where can I divide that, and where do the eyes intersect within that? So on this one, if I'm looking at it, just because if I point it out here on my dog, this part of this, if you look at it, it's not directly where the eye is. It goes a little bit above, kind of like where his eyebrows stand. Down here on the bottom, almost close to it. So I want that circle for the eye to be just a little bit higher than this original line, which kind of crosses right through right here, down here on the bottom. Same thing on the other eye. It kind of comes close to this side. So this is how I'll know where the placement of that eye is going to be. It looks a little funny right now, because it looks kind of like a little robot almost, but you know, that's just the way to get the actual shape of the dog. The nose is probably, if I'm looking at this picture, another important part. So for those of you guys that are scared to break it up into that, you can start off with the round part of the front of the nose, which I kind of have a little bit here. So I'm going to just enhance that just slightly. So you want to get the nose, and you want to get the eyes if you're scared to do it this way. You can also do it that way, but almost make like a triangle before you start doing the outline for everything else. It's just usually, for me, it's easier to start off with some part of the head first, like break it down into shape, okay? So since I have the nose, the mouth itself, if I can kind of eyeball it, should be somewhere at about like right here. Remember, this is a pop art piece, so it doesn't have to be 100% exact. So if I want to give myself a little guide of where the actual mouth opens up down from the bottom, I can do that. I remember, everybody's doing something different. So if I'm looking at Grecia's piece, I'm going to open up your animals, so I can kind of show you, as far as for you, Grecia, you'd be doing, of course, the major part, which is the head area. You can kind of figure out where the eyes lie on that shape. And then also the nose. And then I would start off with the nose to know how separate to draw the eyes. So I would start off with the main part of the head, do the nose, eyes, and then you can kind of draw the outline of the mouth down on the bottom. And once you get that, then the ear placement and so forth will just pop into place depending on where you did your original shape, okay? If I'm taking a look at, and I'm just gonna go briefly over the people who did submit. Eric, I know he's not here, but he was, so I know he'll go back and watch the video. The head, the shape of the head would be right where the middle is. The snout of the nose would be a separate shape. as well as the nose itself. And then you can position the eyes and then the ears, of course, after. So that's where I would start with his. I'm just gonna give a quick feedback to everybody sort of just in case. Diego, if you're gonna use this picture, I would do the whole head. Remember that because it's at a slant, that it would look a little bit more oval like this, just a tiny bit. You can get where the nose positioned is. Then the eyes, of course, because he's sleeping, you would do that little shape for the eyes. And then you would do the ears separate over here. Don't worry about the bodies just yet. Right now, I want you guys concentrating on the head as a focal point first, okay? And then if I'm looking at Joanna's, I know she's not here, but again, to give her feedback on the video, I would do just the big roundness of the face. I would position wherever the nose is down on the bottom, get the position of the eyes first, and then from there you can do the detail of the tongue and the mouth on the bottom and the ears separate. And then if I look at Christian, so Christian's right away, you have the same idea of this, where instead of doing the 2 8s, you would have one for the head on the top, and then you would have one for the snout. Now, when you position it, if you compare it to the one that I have drawn here, your nose is going to sit at the top, of course, of that particular snout, and then you can draw some of the other shapes that are the details, which is the mouth, and then the ears would be separate circles, of course. And then if I take a look at, I'm just again looking at the ones who have submitted something to me already. Sophia, I know she's not here, but she might watch the video. So if I'm gonna give her advice, it would be the entire circle for the head and bottom of the mouth. Then I would draw a separate circle for the front snout, just going to the actual, so it'd be the circle and the circle on the bottom before you draw the circle for the nose and eyes. And then from there, you can draw some of the other details. Matthew, you just got yours submitted, so that works. On him, because especially on the way that you're looking at him, I would draw the whole shape of the head, including the mouth all together. So you draw a circle first, then you would draw a separate circle again for the snout area, which would be the nose at the top and the mouth on the bottom. So you have your big circle and then the small circle that's gonna sit on that. You'll have two separate circles for the ears on the top that are a little bit more oval shape because of the shape itself. And then once you have that smaller circle within the big circle, that'll guide you where to put the eye placement as well as the nose and then the detail on the mouth on the bottom, okay? So just before I continue with mine, I want to give everybody a little bit of feedback who have submitted their references. So again, Alan, I know Alan's not here, but he told me he was going to go back and rewatch it because he's taking his pictures right now. Alan, for yours, it would be the circle of the main part of the head. The snout goes to the front, so I would do a separate oval shape for that. So big oval shape. I would do a separate for the tongue, how the tongue is sticking out off to the side. And then you would do two long ovals on the top for the ears before you do any of the details like the eyes, the circle for the eyes, the opening of the mouth, the little teeth that are exposed as well. But that's the way I would break it up for yours to get that part of the face, okay? And I think that's everybody who submitted at this point. So now that I kind of give you guys some feedback, let's go back to this. So on mine, again, what I told you guys about getting the detail work, once you kind of have the major placement. So I have the major placement of the head, the eyes, this part of the face, the nose, and I kind of drew more or less how wide the mouth is going to be open. Now I'm going to start looking at detail. I'm going to take a look at these. Do the eyes line up right more or less where I originally drew my nose to see if I have to draw this smaller or not? And if I go straight up at the slant, of course, that her head is placed, I do notice that I have the more or less placement. See, there's a little bit of space here. So when I go up, there's a little bit of space. So for me, the spacing is pretty much set. I did not draw yet the shape of her ears, which I would in this case, because I want to make sure that I get the right size. So I'll take a look at to see where does this end right here about where the eyes are. And then where does this end? Just a little bit under. So it should be maybe a little smaller. So I want to make sure that I draw the correct shape. So this is coming off up here. So that way I have a more or less for her. Then I can start already with drawing out the shape. So if I look up here, you notice how this is coming right here by where the eye is. And as far as the distance on the nose, this is pretty good distance. So I'm just going to continue here and I'm going to try to draw my outline. Keep it light. Please, guys, I'm doing it a little bit darker than I should. So compared to what you guys are doing, keep it lighter than mine. I'm only doing this because I want you to be able to see it on camera. And then I want to say, where does this end? Somewhere about right here. How much lower is this from this? So it is a little bit lower. So if I go across here, that's too high to start. I got to come just a little bit lower on this section. So these are little things that you guys want to do is what do you already have drawn and how can I compare it to make it look a little bit better? Okay. What do I already have drawn? Like, is the placement correct? Do I need to go back and change it? Now the nose for sure is not going to have this top. So I can erase this because I only need the bottom part. If I notice on the picture here, it's not completely round. It goes up like that. So I'm going to use this as the edge. It comes here. It kind of rounds off this way, rounds off this way, and rounds off this way. So when you're doing your all's noses for your dogs, double check. Does it have a sharp edge? Hers, if you notice that the black here on the coat of her fur, it comes this way. So it's not like, if I were to zoom in on this, it's not like she has a hard definition. She does for the shadow, but the definition between the fur and the nose, I don't have that on her. So I'm not going to draw that for her specifically. If yours has it, then you draw it. Like I'm looking at Gracias, how your dog has more white fur. You see that hard definition, you should draw the top of your nose, okay? But in my case, I don't necessarily have that, so I'm gonna leave that alone for right now. So I do see her nostrils. So whatever shape you guys see for the nostrils, just try to make sure that you follow what you see. So on this point, because I already have this drawn, I'm gonna zoom in just so I can see it a little bit clearer. And she kind of has this shape going on right here for the nostril. Now remember, all of this is going to change when I start adding the paint, but I just want to have a more or less so I know what to follow. Because this is all I see for the definition here. I don't see too much, okay? Now, if I wanted to draw how she does have that sharp shadow, I can kind of just put a little line as a guide. I don't want to make it too dark. It's just there so that way when I start adding the paint, I know where to put the shadow part. Same thing for the fur. Like if you notice, she has the definition between the black and the white. So I'm going to come, this is the middle of her face. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just draw a very light line, just so when I'm applying the paint, I know where to go. Because if you look at that fur, look how it goes a little bit off to the middle, off of this side, and then it comes in this direction. So I'm just going to go like this, try to draw the outline to what I see. I'm going to erase all these lines because I don't need them anymore. Those are just there for me to guide for the shape of the face of the outside, as well as to know where to place the eyes. So I'm going to erase all these lines already. Also the one that runs here in the middle. So now that I have that, I can keep going with the outline of this white. So I'm just going to come and just wherever she has patches, I'm going to draw these lines. If your animal doesn't have patches, then it's okay. You don't draw these lines. I'm only drawing it because my animal has this, but if yours doesn't, then don't. So I'm going to remove the lines around the eyes. Same thing over here. And then I'm going to try my best to draw the contour. So you want to follow the eye contour. So I'm going to draw the shape here, the shape here. Same thing on the other one. Now, I originally drew this shape and I have to change it a little bit because I drew it too much to the top. This is the time to look at it and compare and say, does it look a little different? Does it not? So you want to make sure that you apply the shape that you see. So if it changes, but this is the time to do it. Don't wait till later when you're actually painting, because if you're like, nah, I'll just change it later when I'm painting, trust me, you won't. You're going to go by your guides. So take time on this part, take time on the guides, so that way when you're applying the paint, it goes a little bit faster for you. And then I also want to pay attention to her highlights. Where are her highlights? Go ahead and draw the outline for that anyways, even though you will be applying the paint on top, and you can just put it on top as you see it. It's better just to have those as guides so you know where to not put so much of that dark paint, even though it's acrylic and it'll go on top. If you can concentrate on this part of it before you even apply that stuff, it'll just look that much better, okay? So I'm gonna try to get, if you notice the outline for her head is not 100% straight. I wanna make sure I get that contour. So pay attention to your contours. For those of you guys that have like pit bulls and things like that for your dog reference, understand that they have certain and specific shapes that is what makes them that breed. So follow the contour. You know, I saw Joanna, how she submitted the cat. Well, the cat's going to have a different shape around the whole entire thing. So follow what you see for the contour. Otherwise, it will not look like your animal. Okay. So I'm going to come this way. The ear, I'm not going to worry too much right now. If you notice, there's like a bunch of little hairs that come out for the fur. So I've been wanting to shave Lily like for, I don't know how long already. So she has a lot of fur. If you want to take the time and draw the fur, that's fine. But if you just get the outline shape, so if I pay attention to this shape only, when I'm doing the paint, that's when I can add those strokes because they are going to be individual strokes. So if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Just kind of draw the outline, like I said, the main contour. I'm not even going to add any of those. Can you? Yes, you can. Like if I zoom in, I kind of did a little bit on the top, but I know I'm going to do this with the paint, so I'm not going to bother at this point. Okay. Now, because she has different tones, like look at the little eyebrows, I do need to make sure that I incorporate that as well, the outline. If your animal has it, add it. If it doesn't, then just leave it alone. But it's only if they do have it. So I'm going to add a little bit of outline there. She also has it on the other side, and she has more black in between this section. So I'm going to make sure I include that. This one gets a little bit closer to the eye. So this is where you're going to take the time. This is where you're going to try to make sure that you get all of that detail on your pets. This is what's going to make it look like them. When we start with the painting process, there are a lot of things that I'm going to teach you guys when it comes to pop art on how to make it with the color while it's still looking like your animal. You know, like even though your animals might be a specific tone and so forth, there's a way of doing it to make it look like pop art with those bright tones while still making it look like, if I was looking at it, it looks black, but I'm adding other colors to enhance it to make it look like pop art. Okay. And that's what we're going to be doing starting the next class when we start adding the color. So for this class period, all you're doing is just concentrating, like I said, on the outline. That's all you're doing. And remember, they are animals that have fur. So we're going to give it the illusion of fur. So right now, I'm only concentrating on the main part. Like if I notice it, some of this brown does come into the white, but I'm not going to draw all of that detail. All I'm doing is going by more or less, and I'm giving myself a guide of how far I technically have to take that color, other than adding little tiny details, minute details, like within the in-between, okay? So this shape is a little bit off to me. I need to fix this because her shape is more like this. So this is the time where you guys want to take the time and actually do it right to them, to your specific animal. Because if you're not adding a lot of those details on their shape, it won't look like them at the very end, okay? So I think that's it for her face, at least this part. Now her mouth, I got to make sure that I incorporate the teeth first, just because the teeth are very important to make it look like her. So what I want to do is compare, if you have your dog's mouth open, compare that tooth, where does it lie to something that's already drawn. Since I already have the nose drawn out, I want to make sure I include that first. So I'm going to put a tooth right here. If I look at this, it's just at the same angle that this is. So I'm going to put a tooth right here. Pay attention to the contour of their tongue, because that's going to matter too. So she has her tongue do this. She has a little black line right here. And then she's got the black line that comes down here. So this is what you're basically doing, is just take your time, make sure it looks like them. The teeth placement makes a huge difference. So I'm going to just concentrate on her tongue. So if you're showing mouth, you got to make sure you take the time to actually do all of those details. Because if you have ever paid attention to your animals before and you really look at them individually, you'll notice a lot of detail that you probably haven't looked at prior to actually trying to draw them and paint them, because they do have a lot of details, especially when it comes to the gums in their mouth. Some are spotted, so some will have a spotted look to them. And if you didn't take your picture where it shows that much detail, then you're just not adding that detail. You're making it a little bit easier on yourself. But like I said, if you do the detail, it's just going to look that much better, especially with pop art. That's why I told you guys, try to get them like with their tongue sticking out and so forth like that. It just makes it a better painting. And if you guys that are seeing me draw this, you're like, no, I actually want to add more detail to it, then you can always go back and retake the pictures if you want to get a different shape for them. So it will look, for especially if you're adding a bunch of detail, a bunch of outlining, like right now, it looks a little bit more like, she looks kind of funny, yeah, because she doesn't have all her hair going out over here. It's what makes her her. So this is the time where I'm going to go ahead, and even then looking at it, I think I drew this eye. It looks a little bit too high. So this is the time to go back and fix anything like that you might feel like it's a little bit off, because I think her eye needs to come down just slightly, which means her eyebrow will come down too. So this is the time to go back and change it. And I'll change this on my own time since you guys already saw me draw that. But yeah, so like for the hairline, I know, look at how much fur this is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to concentrate only on this line first, not even this, because I'll get that with the painting. So I'm just going to concentrate on getting the outline here and the outline right here of her fur that's white. And then I also want to make sure that I get the outline here where it's black. And then she has a little bit also of like a brown color right here. So I'm just going to add a little bit, just with a little bit of outlining makes a huge difference when you guys start already with the painting, okay? I am going to come and try to do this line that's right here first. So this is where, since I already have part of the face drawn, I know how far down to go out. So this is how you divide it. I'm not doing all the little hairs. I'm drawing it like this. I'm just coming like this and drawing here. So if you have hair on your animal, a lot of fur, and it's like super detailed, just concentrate on the outline right now. Compare right here where it ends off. I know this hair meets over here down on the bottom. She's got like her little legs showing right here. And then she has a hint of black hair that comes this way. And so it's like a little lion. So right now, as of right now, the way we have it outlined, it's gonna look like, a little funny because we're not putting all of the detail just yet. You're just concentrating on just the outlines and areas of color. That is all you have to worry about for today's work, okay? When we come back on Wednesday, I'm gonna show you guys how to apply the color to make this look like pop art. You have to work with the base coat and you're gonna work your way to adding more and more. And we're gonna be doing it strand by strand to make it look like fur, because that's all the animals that we have selected here. Somebody would have given me a picture of like a chameleon or something totally different that doesn't have fur. Then I would have to be teaching you guys as well, those students, a whole different technique, because everybody selected something with fur because I got dogs and a cat. It's pretty much the same thing for each and every one of them. So that's the good thing about what you guys did for the selection route on your animals, okay? So today, like I said, you're only dealing with the outlines. I kind of went over specifically on each one of what to do as far as the outline. What I do recommend, guys, is that after you're done with your outline, keep it as light as possible, but send me a picture of it on Remind if you need me to just verify that it looks good before you submit it, because I am going to have you guys submit your outlines to me on Google Classroom for a grade. It's going to be a test grade. This will be the second test grade technically for the 6 weeks, because how I gave you guys a test grade just for submitting your photographs. So those of you guys that submitted your photographs already have 100 in my class. That's why I haven't sent the grades back just yet, because I'm gonna be inputting those grades as your first test grade for the 6 weeks, for the last 6 weeks, okay? So those are 2 grades that you're gonna have to worry about, is getting me the reference, which if you already submitted it, awesome, you already have your grade. And the other is this outline. So I am gonna upload right now an assignment for you guys to be able to send me those, and I can check them compared to your reference before you actually get started on Wednesday with the painting, okay? Are there any questions at this point? And I will stop the video just in case there are any.